I've worked customs for 11 years. I've seen fake baby formula hiding contraband. I've seen hidden compartments built into luggage liners. I've seen every trick in the book. That day, a foreign student came through my checkpoint ordinary suitcase. Calm and composed demeanor, I ran it through the X-ray machine. Nothing unusual showed up. I still didn't let it go. I told him to open the bag inside the hidden layer. 3 stones lay there quietly, dull and gray. The kind you'd find just about anywhere. I stared at them for 3 seconds. Didn't say a word. I picked up my radio and said a code phrase. 10 minutes later, the entire airport was locked down the moment the alarm went off. The whole terminal erupted into chaos. The student, the one named Ethan, dropped his bowl on the floor. His face went completely white. I didn't pay him any attention. I immediately placed the 3 stones back into the hidden compartment, replaced the inner lining panel, and closed the suitcase. Then I sealed the bag with the highest level security tape. By the time I finished, fully armed airport tactical officers had already rushed in, setting up a security perimeter. Nobody moves. Stay where you are. The officer's shouts drowned out everything else. Team leader Rachel walked toward me with 2 colleagues from Customs Intelligence. Moving with unmistakable authority, her expression was the most serious I had ever seen. Sweat beading on her forehead. What's the situation? I didn't waste any words. Target: Ethan, 21 years old. International student from country H. Suspected item: 3 stones in the hidden compartment of his suitcase. I pointed to the black luggage. The stones are hard. I used the phrase, the stones are hard. Rachel's pupils contracted sharply. The code phrase, the stones are hard, in the internal system, corresponded to the highest level national security threat protocol. She immediately picked up an encrypted phone and dialed a number. This is Rachel, Customs at the Capital Airport. Initiating the Pantheon Case Protocol, Terminal 3. Target located at Checkpoint 6, requesting immediate backup from command. In less than 20 minutes, 3 black Hongqi sedans came through the airport's special access lane and drove straight to the tarmac. A group of people in black suits stepped out, radiating an intense, commanding presence. At the center of them was a man, around 30 years old, short hair, eyes sharp as a blade. He wore no visible credentials, but the moment he appeared, the airport security chief stepped forward to greet him. He walked straight up to Rachel. National Security Bureau, Lucas Chen. Where's the suspect and the evidence? Rachel pointed to Ethan, who had already been escorted into an armored vehicle, and to the metal case being held separately. Who made the initial discovery? Lucas scanned the group with his eyes. That was me. I stepped forward. Lucas's gaze lingered on me for a few seconds, like he was running me through an X-ray. Walk me through it. I described everything from the moment Ethan approached my station to the moment I found the stones. Concisely and precisely, not leaving out a single detail, including my read of his micro-expressions, as well as my inspection of the luggage. You pried open the hidden compartment. Saw the stones. Lucas cut me off. And then you went straight to triggering a national security alert?
是。
你凭什么判断那3块普通的石头是国安威胁？
直觉。我说。
直觉。
陆成渊的嘴角勾起一抹冰冷。
His tone carried undisguised contempt. Officer Sue. Is that right? Do you have any idea that because of one gut feeling of yours, shutting down the entire capital airport, do you know how much that's going to cost? Do you know how many international flights have been diverted to other cities right now? Do you know that if this turns out to be a false alarm, what kind of consequences you'll be facing? The rapid-fire questions hit like bullets. I didn't back down. I held his gaze. I know you're betting your entire career and future on your gut instinct. I don't need to bet, I said, word by word, because I saw a purple light. Purple light? Lucas furrowed his brow at a specific angle under the overhead lights. There was a brief flash of purple across the surface of the stones, extremely faint. But I saw it. That's the truth. That was the real reason I triggered the highest level alert 3 years ago. My mentor, Senior Customs Officer Margaret, was killed in the line of duty. What they had intercepted that time was a new type of contraband disguised as ordinary mineral rock. A new type of smuggled material. Afterward, at an internal briefing, I saw the description of that contraband. Its core material, when activated by a specific light source, would emit a distinctive purple luminescence. After that incident, the code phrase, the stones are hard, and the Pantheon contingency plan behind it were officially established. The number of people who knew this detail across the entire customs system was no more than 5. Rachel was one of them. When she heard the words purple light, her expression shifted too. Lucas clearly wasn't in on this. He let out a cold laugh. Purple light? Officer Sue, did you watch too many sci-fi movies as a kid? He waved his hand. Take the evidence to the isolation testing room. Have the tech team analyze it immediately. Take the suspect to the interrogation room. I'll conduct the questioning myself. His team moved at once. The next several hours were a long, grinding wait. I was put in a small break room. 2 tactical officers stood guard at the door. I couldn't use my phone. No contact with the outside world. Time crawled by second. Outside the window, night had fallen. Terminal 3 was still under lockdown. The tarmac was empty and still quiet as a ghost town. I could only imagine the storm raging outside at that moment. But my heart was completely calm. I trusted my eyes. And I trusted my mentor even more than at midnight. The door to the break room was shoved open. Lucas walked in. His expression was even colder than before, his eyes burning with barely contained fury. He slammed a document hard onto the table in front of me. Officer, so you better give me one hell of an explanation. I picked up the document. It was the tech team's preliminary analysis report. In the conclusion section, the bold black text hit me like a punch to the face. Submitted sample, full spectrum analysis, composition testing. Radiation screening, no anomalies detected. Primary composition, granite. Conclusion, ordinary rock. My mind went completely blank. How's that possible? My team interrogated him for 7 or 8 hours straight. Lucas's voice was cold as ice. He said the same thing from start to finish. He picked up those stones while traveling in country H. Thought they looked nice and brought them back as souvenirs. His social connections, family background. We dug up everything there was to find. Clean as a whistle right now. Every piece of evidence points to one thing. Luke leaned forward, both hands pressed against the table, glaring at us with icy intensity. You're lying. No, I'm not. My voice came out a little hoarse. Purple light. You say our tech team brought in the best equipment in the country and went over those 3 stones inside and out, didn't find a single trace of anything purple. Susan, he was practically roaring. I'm giving you 12 hours from right now until noon tomorrow. You either produce those 3 stones as hard evidence of a national security threat, or you can expect to face a military tribunal. Now get out of my sight and go to the isolation room. You better think long and hard about how to prove you're not some conspiracy-chasing lunatic. His chest was heaving, rage boiling over. 2 tactical officers walked in, one on each side, taking hold of me. I didn't resist. My mind was in complete chaos. That's impossible. I clearly saw it. That purple light, it matched exactly what was shown at the internal briefing 3 years ago. Identical. So where did things go wrong? I was locked inside a room, a windowless isolation cell. The room had nothing but a metal cot. I sat down, forcing myself to stay calm over and over again, replaying everything that had happened that afternoon, the moment. Her expression, her movements. Wait, her left hand. That gesture she made. Something suddenly clicked in my mind when she broke open the outer layer. The moment the stones were revealed, her anxiety had hit its peak. But when I picked up the stone and shone the high-powered flashlight on it, her expression, beyond the fear, seemed to carry something else entirely. What was that? I closed my eyes, frantically searching my memory for that image. That's it. It was relief. The moment she watched me use an ordinary high-powered flashlight to examine the stone, and found nothing out of the ordinary, her expression in that instant was pure relief. What was she so relieved about? Relieved that I was using regular light. I shot up from the cot and rushed to the door, pounding hard on the metal door. Open up. I need to see Luke. I need to re-examine the evidence. I know exactly where the problem is. The heavy metal door swung open. Standing in the doorway was team leader Nathan. He looked completely worn out, eyes red around the edges, clearly hadn't slept all night. Come with me, he cut me off, and turned to walk away. I followed behind him through the long corridor. The tech team's report, I read it too. Nathan's voice was heavy. Susan, this whole situation has blown way out of proportion. Sir, I'm not lying. I said urgently. The problem isn't the stones. It's the light. What kind of light? At the internal briefing after my mentor's incident, I went over the report more than a dozen times. There was one line in the report about that type of purple light field. It doesn't show up under just any light source. It only reacts to one very specific narrowband light source. That particular frequency range was something our country had only just successfully developed at the time. A completely classified optical frequency band standard detection equipment could never be calibrated to those parameters. Nathan's footsteps came to a stop. He turned around, staring hard at me. How confident are you? 100%. I said without hesitation. Nathan went silent for a few seconds, then pulled out his phone and dialed that encrypted number again. This time he didn't say much. He simply relayed what I had said word for word. On the other end of the line there was also a silence. Give her 1 hour, that's all. Luke's cold voice came through the phone. I'll be waiting in the isolation testing room. Inside the isolation testing room.
气氛凝重的像要滴出水来。3块石头静静地躺在纯白的操作台上，几个穿着白色研究服的技术人员站在一旁，看着我的眼神充满了怀疑和不屑。陆程
Luke stood with his arms crossed, positioned in the shadows of the corner. Agent Susan, you may begin. His tone carried absolutely no emotion. I need an adjustable laser emitter with a wavelength range that can reach the ultraviolet band. One of the technicians let out a scoff. Do you even know what you're asking for? Ultraviolet band? You think this is some sci-fi lab? Do what she says. Luke said coldly and firmly. The technician looked less than thrilled about it, but went ahead to get things ready anyway. Soon enough, a precision instrument was wheeled and I stepped up to the equipment and shut off all the standard lighting in the testing room.
切换到全黑模式，灯光一盏盏熄灭，整个检测室陷入一片黑暗，只有仪器屏幕上悠悠的绿光照在我脸上。我深吸一口气，开始调。
Starting the wavelength from the visible light range at 760 nanometers bit by bit, dialing it down. Red light, orange light, yellow light, green light. The 3 stones on the examination table showed no reaction whatsoever, still looking like nothing more than ordinary rocks. Sweat began to form on my forehead. The snickering from the technician beside me grew louder and clearer. I told you this is all smoke and mirrors. Luke's brow furrowed as well. His patience seemed to be running thin. I ignored all of them and kept going. 400 nanometers, 300 nanometers, entering the ultraviolet range, 250 nanometers. Agent Susan, your time is almost up. Luke's voice felt like a death sentence closing and I gritted my teeth, my fingers turning the dial with steady precision. When the wavelength dial landed exactly on one particular mark, 3 nanometers, that was the number. 3 years ago in the old commander's report, that brief fleeting figure noted as an experimental parameter. My hand froze. I lifted my gaze toward the examination table. A miracle had happened under the beam of ultraviolet light. At that very specific frequency, the 3 stones that had looked completely unremarkable seemed as though life had been breathed into them. Their interiors lit up countless threads of light, intricate shimmering purple filaments like a river of stars, flowing slowly through the interior of the stones, weaving together into a 3-dimensional network of staggering complexity. Those weren't stones, they were a compressed universe, made entirely of pure light. The entire testing room went dead silent in an instant. Everyone was stopped cold by what they saw before them, that structured yet otherworldly sight, leaving them completely speechless. The technicians' jaws dropped wide open, eyes nearly bulging out of their heads. Oh my god, what on earth is that thing? From the corner, Luke suddenly stepped out of the shadows. He strode quickly to the examination table, staring at the 3 stones that now seemed alive. His eyes filled with shock and disbelief. He slowly turned his head and looked at me. Gone from his eyes was every trace of the contempt and mockery from before. In its place was profound shock and a flicker of fear. How did you know about this frequency? His voice carried a tremor. For the very first time, this is the highest level optical classified secret in the country. The encrypted phone in his pocket began ringing like crazy at that very moment. Lucas snapped awake as if startled and fumbled to answer the call. Chief Lou Lindsay talked. On the other end of the line was the urgent voice of a colleague from the interrogation unit. She said. He told her he had been recruited by an organization while in country H. The organization had paid him a large sum of money to bring 3 raw stones back into the country. The contact told him these stones were completely safe, undetectable by any screening method, and less exposed to a wavelength of 23 nanometers. Using a key light, he also said. The meeting location was at the interrogation unit. Colleagues' words weren't finished yet when Lucas's phone slipped from his hand and hit the floor. Every last drop of color drained from his face in an instant. He finally understood. The reason I knew about this top secret frequency that even he wasn't cleared for wasn't because my clearance level was high enough. It was because this intelligence had been bought 3 years ago with my mentor's life. And he had just come within inches of sending the hero who paid for this lead with his life to a court-martial as a lunatic. Where is the meeting location? Serena had already lunged forward, snatched up the phone, and shouted into it. The National Digital Library, 3rd floor, Section C, booth number 307. Meeting time 3 o'clock this afternoon. Less than 2 hours left. Serena hung up the phone and looked over at Lucas. And at that moment Lucas was looking at me with an expression I had never seen on his face before. There was scrutiny in it, there was admiration. There was something unspoken. And even a trace of awe. Officer Sue. He began, his voice unsteady. I owe you an apology for my rudeness and arrogance earlier. He straightened up, faced me, and gave a deep, solemn bow. A senior official of the National Security Bureau. Bowing like a junior clerk, the technicians and colleagues nearby were all left completely speechless. I didn't step aside. I accepted his apology with composure. Because I understood he wasn't really apologizing to me. He was apologizing to my mentor who 3 years ago had traded his life for this top secret intelligence. To the memory of Mason Ching. Now isn't the time for this, I said, my voice steady and calm. We have 1 hour and 50 minutes left. Those words pulled Lucas out of his emotions in an instant. His gaze turned sharp as a blade. Once more, you're right. He turned around and with swift, decisive energy began issuing orders. Everyone, in under 1 minute, assemble downstairs. Target, the National Digital Library. The motorcade sped off with lights and sirens. What would normally have been over an hour's drive, with the full cooperation of traffic control authorities, was cut down to just 30 minutes. At 2:10 in the afternoon, the lead vehicle executed a sharp, clean slide and came to a smooth stop at the side entrance of the National Digital Library. The car doors swung open and agents dressed in black tactical gear, fully armed national security special operations personnel poured out like a flood, moving in complete silence as they exited the vehicles and rapidly took up strategic positions. Serena led her team as well, locking down every exit. Lucas took me with him and headed straight into the library's central security monitoring room. Inside the monitoring room, more than a dozen technicians were already standing by on full alert. The massive tiled display on the wall showed live feeds from throughout the library. From over 100 surveillance cameras. Report. All entry and exit points are fully secured. Report. 3rd floor Section C has been cleared. All unauthorized personnel have been removed. Report. Sniper team is in position. Clear line of sight. Confirmed. Reports from each unit kept coming in through the earpiece. Lucas stood in front of the screen. His gaze is cold and steady as a block of ice. Now we wait for the fish to bite. He turned his head and looked at me. Sophie, from here on out, I need to borrow your eyes out of everyone here. Pick that ghost out from the crowd. I gave a nod, my eyes locked hard onto the screen, fixed on the stairwell leading up to 3rd floor Section C. I knew a silent war was about to begin. Time ticked by second by second. Inside the monitoring room, the only sound was the quiet hum of equipment running. Every single person's nerves were stretched wire tight. The digital clock on the wall, its bright red numbers, like a countdown on a bomb, hammering at every person's chest. The scheduled meeting time arrived, but on the surveillance feed, the entrance leading to 3rd floor Section C was completely empty. Not a single person in sight. Target has not appeared. All units stay alert. Do not stand down. Lucas leaned into the mic and issued the order in a firm, even tone. His face gave nothing away, but the hand gripping his radio, with knuckles faintly white, betrayed the tension inside him. I kept my eyes glued to the screen as well, my mind running at full speed. What form would the target take when they appeared? A sharp-dressed operative in a suit, or an unremarkable janitor blending into the background, or maybe they wouldn't show up in person at all, but instead remotely direct some unsuspecting ordinary person to complete the handoff. I put myself in the shoes of that mysterious contact, turning over every possible scenario. Time kept slipping by. 3:10 p.m., still no movement whatsoever. The atmosphere inside the monitoring room was starting to grow restless. Chiefly, you think they're not going to show? A young analyst couldn't hold back and whispered the question. Shut it. Lucas cut him off coldly. Lindsay's arrest was carried out inside the airport. There is absolutely no way the information leaked. They have no idea their courier has been compromised. They will come for a professional covert organization. Patience is the most basic discipline. Unless he left the thought unfinished. But I knew exactly what he meant. Unless their idea of patience was something entirely different from ours. My gaze swept across the feed on the main screen showing the 1st floor lobby of the library. People coming and going, a steady buzz of activity. White-haired elderly visitors, bright-eyed students, parents who'd brought their kids in to read. Everything looked perfectly normal, full of the pulse of everyday life. If I were the contact, what would I do? I would never walk straight up to the 3rd floor right at the scheduled time. That would be far too obvious. I would arrive before the scheduled time, posing as just another regular reader. Walk into the library, find a quiet corner, sit down, and read like a single drop of water, dissolving into the ocean. Then once I was absolutely certain the environment was safe, I would casually make my way to the meeting point.